Friday, January 29th, and I am back for my stitching update. It has been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you've all been well and you've been stitching and making and creating all of the things. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. This is a video podcast about cross-stitching and sometimes quilting. However, if you are not interested in seeing or hearing about the quilts, I show those a little later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they will be making their appearance, so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. I can already tell that this video is going to go very well because I had to pause the video because I was baking a cobbler, a berry cobbler, and it was in the oven, and I knew it was getting time for it to be nearly done, so I paused the video, went and got it out of the oven, came back, thought I had hit the record button, started talking. I don't know how long I talked, and then my phone fell asleep, and I realized that however long, I hadn't recorded any of it, and that is, oh boy, this is gonna go great. I already know. So hope you guys have had a wonderful 2 weeks since the last time we sat down to have a chat. My 2 weeks, I didn't get as much progress as I had hoped for. This past week, I ended up having to help Allison with her psychology homework, and I know zero about psychology. And so reading some of the things, I just didn't understand any of it. Some of it to me seemed it was based on the reader's opinion. Didn't seem very scientific, but she's taking a class called evolutionary psychology. And if that had been a class I had to take in high school, or when I did go to college, I went for like a year. If that had been a class that I had to take, because you have to take it, there's no way I would pass it. No way at all. So trying to help her with it, I don't really know how well I did, but yes, so this past week has been it's been very trying. But hopefully the next couple of weeks will go much better, and I won't have to try to help her with a subject I know nothing about. When she had her writing class, I could help her all the time. I mean, I totally knew how to, help her, but when it comes to, her major is she's studying psychology. And I think that her major is psychology, and then her minor is in, she studied to be like a high school counselor. So that's her minor. And so yeah, when I sat down and tried to read through the book, she had to read like 60 pages, and it's not like a little book. This thing is, massive, and it's just full of just words, and I didn't understand any of it. So that has been what my evening over the past week has been. In my last video, I got asked a number of questions, and I was very smart, and I wrote all of the questions down so I could remember what they were, so I could talk about them in my video. And somehow the piece of paper fell on the ground, kind of out of view. And when I went out I was doing stuff out in the dungeon, and I went out and I looked on the other side of my quilt machine, and it just was, Hurricane Freddy had went down with some paper and just shredded it. And at the time I didn't realize what it was, and I just scooped it all up and threw it away and vacuumed up some of it. And then when I went out to go get the questions, I realized that's what the piece of paper was. So I'm going to try to remember what they were. I have no idea who asked the question. And if I don't answer the question that you asked, feel free to ask it to me again in the comments of this video, and I will make sure to write them and put them in a better place. I did get some questions on my anniversaries. The first question that I remember was, how many spaces did I put in between each of the anniversaries pieces? And it's 3. So it's 3 stitch spaces were in between. And in the booklet, that's what it tells you to do. If you read in, it's on the side I think towards the bottom, and usually somewhere underneath the where it lists the symbols and the, you know, the thread that you're going to be using, that is where you will find, you know, it'll say, you know, if you stitch it all on one piece, this is the stitch count, and that 3 spaces were used in between each one. So that's what I did. The other question that I got was, am I planning on putting any sort of information on the back side of my anniversaries piece so that that way future generations will be able to see who it was that I stitched each piece for? And yes, I was already planning on doing that. I knew that that was something that I was going to have to do right from the get-go. And yes, I am already planning on doing that. I originally thought maybe I would type it out, but I think what I will do is I will write the information in my own handwriting, and then I will attach it to in an envelope in the back. And then that way, as time goes on, if I am able to, you know, let's say find a picture of Brian's grandfather, I can put that picture in with the information. Because I think out of all of my relatives and all of my husband's relatives, I think he is the only one that I don't have a picture for. I did get a couple questions about Freddy. So the, not last video, but the video before, I had talked about Freddy, and a couple people thought that Freddy was like my son. And I guess technically he is, but no, he is my little puppy. He is a Havanese, and he just turned 8 months old. Technically in the, you know, the toy dog category, he is actually full grown now. He is a sweetheart. He is my constant shadow and companion, and I will show him, I promise, because I had forgot to show him, not last video, but the 2 videos before, and I had a lot of people asking, you know, where's Freddy? How is he? Is he okay? And it was just because he was being a stinker. And even last time, he only let me hold him for like a millisecond, and then he wanted down. So I will show him. He is just over in the entryway. He's sleeping. He is my constant companion. I absolutely adore him. And I jokingly told Brian the other day that if we ever do decide to get a second Havanese, I wanted to get a girl, and I want to call her Ethel. So that way it's Fred and Ethel. So anyway, I don't know that that's ever going to happen, but you know, anyway, but yes, we absolutely adore him. He still gets into everything. And you can usually find things you lost because he will find them. And then he has this thing where he'll find something, he knows he's not supposed to have it, and you're not paying attention. So he sits there quietly. And when you look over at him, he will look you dead in the eye with a very serious, you know, puppy expression on his face. And you're like, why does he keep looking at me like that? And if you look over at him again, whatever he has in his mouth, he spits out, sucks back in, and spits, you know, because he wants you to chase him. So you just have to remain calm, and, you know, you just, okay, I just need to keep an eye on him. He's got something in his mouth, but I'm not going to go chase him. So you get up and you walk away from him. He follows and he sits down and he waits until you look over, and he'll like spit it and suck it back up, spit it out, suck it back up. And then you walk past him out into the kitchen and you start rooting around in the cupboards, and you pull a box down and you look over and he spits out whatever it is, and he's coming towards you because he wants to eat whatever it is you're going to eat. So it gives you like 5 seconds to somehow get around him and get whatever it is that he's not supposed to have. So that is his fun game, and he plays it all the time. So since I was talking about Fred, I thought I would just go grab him really quick and see if he would cooperate for the video, and he's being very cuddly right now. I did wake him up, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna grab him and show him, and that way he can continue napping. So here is Mr. Freddy. He got a haircut over the weekend. It's not the best haircut, and in fact we found a different groomer, and he'll be going to her next time. Well, that only lasted a few minutes. It is his nap time right now, and I thought maybe he would let me hold him for a few more minutes, but he was ready to be put back down, and now he's over snoozing in the entryway. And while I was showing Freddy, I realized there was another question And this might just, you know, kind of happen as I'm going through my video. I might just all of a sudden remember one of them, so please just bear with me. The question that I had was about when I show my stitched pieces, how do I get it to look so nice and flat and crisp and clear? And even with the quilt blocks that I show on Instagram and Facebook and then here as well, how do I get everything to look so crisp and nice? When I take it out of the Q-snap, I iron it. I put a towel down on my ironing board and I put the stitched piece over the top of it, and then I lay the stitched piece face down and I iron it with steam. And if I'm having any sort of trouble with it, I will use Best Press, but I try not to do that on the hand dyed linens because it will move the molt around, if that makes sense. Even though it's been, say that, I tea coffee dyed something. Even though I baked it and I went and I ironed it as soon as it came out, the moment that water or any sort of liquid hits it, it will move the molting around a little bit. So I try not to do that on the over dyed, but I do use a little bit of steam. And the same with my quilt blocks. I do use steam very lightly, unless I have a project where I have to have the block be 12.5, because if I use steam, it will shrink my block a little bit. So, it just kind of depends on the quilt blocks, but as far as my stitching goes, I do use a little bit of steam and I iron it face down, and that's how I'm able to get it nice and crisp looking. So over the past couple of weeks, I received a little bit of Happy Mail. I know her as Lindsay from Primrose Cottage Quilts, but she contacted me and told me she had a little something she wanted to send me. I know she does design under Primrose Cottage Stitches. I don't know if those are like two separate places, like on Etsy, or if she has two separate, like websites or Instagram accounts. I need to look into that. And what I will do is, because I was supposed to check before I did the video, I will make sure to kind of scroll that information down below. So she contacted me and said that she had something that she wanted to send me in the mail. She sent me this cute little note, and she sent me a Valentine cross stitch that was designed under Primrose Cottage Stitches. So this would be perfect for my tree. Normally, and this was supposed to be, it's supposed to be decorated for Valentine's Day. I was supposed to decorate it 2 weeks ago, and I never did. So this tree is still decorated for winter, and so is the one out in the other room as well. I thought about it a whole bunch of different times, and I didn't do it, and I decided that's totally okay next year. So next year, this will look really, really cute as an ornament for my tree. And then she sent me a quilt pattern called Let Freedom Ring, row by row. I remember my friends participated in the sew along that was done with this quilt over this past summer, I think. And the quilts that they made were beautiful. I've seen them both and they're absolutely beautiful. Next up is Falling in Love. And this one is designed in two sizes. You can make a like a table topper or a wall hanging, or you can make a table runner. And again, would be very, very perfect. I don't even have any Valentine decor anywhere. Normally I have a table runner here and I have little decorations. I haven't done any of it. So next year, that will look perfect as a table topper. And then Boo Bash, which I have a lot of time to get this one done. And I love this one. And I love the fabric that it was designed out of. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And then she sent me two tote bags. And I love this. Life is better when I am quilting. So she sent me two tote bags. So what I will do in my next video is I will give one of the tote bags away. I was supposed to do a giveaway for this video, and it's because I want to make something. I have a little something in mind that I want to make, and that's what I was going to give away, and I never got the opportunity to make it. And so I'm going to try really, really hard over the next 2 weeks to get that made. And then I will have a giveaway in my next video, because I passed my Flosstube anniversary back on January 12th. I didn't even say anything about it in my last video because I completely forgot about it. And I remembered like a week ago, So I have a lot of things that I have to be thankful for, and I want to be able to do a couple of different giveaways, and that's going to have to wait till next time. So I will give that one away in my next video. And then she also sent me this coffee mug. I am a collector of coffee mugs, and I love this. I love that it is a cross-stitching coffee mug. And I'm sorry the light is not going to be very nice to it, but it says sip, stitch, repeat. I love it. And the middle of it is pink. I just absolutely love it. And I have been waiting and waiting and waiting to use it, and now I finally can. Because I wanted to show it in my video, and I was tempted to put coffee in it today and then do my video, but with the way everything's going, I was afraid I would spill it. So thank you so much, Lindsay. And then I was contacted by Sherry Smith, but she had left me a message back in the late fall because I had mentioned that everywhere across social media, on Pinterest, even in the mail, I had received or seen Anne Uffendell by Hands Across the Seas. I was seeing it everywhere. I was seeing it being stitched. I saw it finished, and I made the comment that the universe is trying to tell me that I need to probably get it and stitch it. So she sent me a message and told me that she has Anne, and that she would be happy to send it on to me because she was never gonna be able to stitch it. And so it arrived, and I've seen Hands Across the Sea samplers. I don't own any. So this is Anne, and then this is Isabella. And I've read through this one, and it's amazing the amount of information. These charts are so well made. They're absolutely beautiful. And so my plan is at some point I'm going to stitch this. It probably won't be this year, but definitely next year I'm going to have this. I'm going to work towards kitting it up, and then I will have it for next year. But it was so sweet of her to, send it my way. But then she included some other charts with it too. This one is Sarah Woodham 1770 by Shakespeare's Peddler. And this one I have had in and out of my shopping cart for the past probably 8 months. And when I saw this in there, I couldn't believe it. It's just so amazing and so generous of Sherry to send all of these beautiful charts to me. This one is the Spanish Mystery Sampler. Next one is Church on the Hill Sampler by the Sampler Company, Brenda Keys. I love this. I've never seen this one, and I've been on her website many times looking at some of the different ones, and I love this one. I love that Church on the Hill. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I cannot wait to stitch that. The Scarlet House, Anne Long, 1826. And I love this one. I love them all. She told me to, keep what I want and feel free to, pass on what I don't. But so far, I love them all. I love this one. This one is called Elizabeth Seville, 1841 Sampler. I love this one. I don't think it would take too terribly long to stitch up. I love it. Of course, it could be a beast, but it's so beautiful. They're just all so beautiful. The Scarlet House, Marianne Farmer, 1834. I've had this one on my 1-2-3 stitch wish list for quite a while now. I love it. Mary Clayton by Hands Across the Sea. And I love that big giant house right in the middle. Love it, love it. I haven't read this one yet. I've been slowly reading them because there's a story to all of them. There's one of them that I was reading. Oh, this one. This is Lucy Navier, 1818, and it was the 2019 Queen of the May. So this one I took out and I read it, and they actually couldn't find any information on the Lucy that stitched this piece, but they were able to add like some other information that they kind of knew about this particular time period. But this one is fabulous. Wow, wow, so fabulous. The Scarlet House, Maria Pillings, 1818. Love it. Love it. This one's Milady's Needle, In Search of Bliss. And I love this because who doesn't love a big giant house? Love, love, love. This one is Anne Fleming 1810, a Quaker sampler, and I love this one. And it came kitted, so this one is ready to go. Love it. And I was reading all of this information down here, and it's just really interesting what they're able to find out about, you know, that particular time period. And this one's called Mary Dodge, and it's by the Primitive Needle. And this one also had a little bit of, it had a little story with it, and it was really, really interesting. Just so interesting. And I didn't realize this, but in England, there's a museum called All Hallows Museum in Haunton, England. I know that I'm not saying that right. So I told Allison that we had to add that to our England bucket list. So as it stands now, we're gonna have to stay in England for a little over a year in order to see everything that we want to see. And we've both already decided that when we get over there, we're going to rent a flat, and that we're both going to go get jobs in a pub. So that way that can pay for our rent and our traveling around England and Scotland. And then last is Ada Rogers, 1865 by Needle Made Designs. And I love this one as well. So thank you so much, Sherry. It was so generous of you to send those to me. I am just, thank you so much. I have had them next to my sewing machine, and what I do is in the evening, I will take one out of its package and I will flip through it and just kind of read about it. And thank you so much. It was so generous of you to send those my way. Okay, let's talk about what I have been working on over the past couple of weeks. So as I mentioned earlier, I ended up changing up my rotation. And what I do is I have this book of days, and I will plan out my whole entire month. And in January, it's all nicely filled out now. I think when I showed this last time, I think I only had the first couple of weeks in. So what I do is I go through and I plot out what it is that I'm going to stitch all through the month. And when I had started January, the way it was going to go was I was going to start Liberty's Welcome. That's my New Year, New Start. And then on the weekends, my weekend whip is Autumn at Hawkhorn Hollow. And then on the 11th and 12th of each month, I was going to work on Anne Priest. Wednesdays, I am working on Olga Stocking. And then on the 20th and the 21st, I had planned on working on Celtic Autumn. Well, as I got through the first 2 weeks of January, I noticed that I was not stitching as many hours as I had been in the fall of the year. On average, I was only averaging about an hour to an hour and a half a night. And so, as you can imagine, that wasn't really giving me a lot of progress on any of the stuff I was working on. So I did work on Anne Priest. I showed that in my last video. But I only really worked on her really for 2 hours. So during the 2 days, all I had got was about 2 hours on her. So I didn't really, I think I stitched a tree and then a little bit of the border, and that was it. And I realized that at the pace that I'm going now, in order to be a little bit more successful in my stitching, I needed to eliminate some stuff. So I decided to, for the time being, to eliminate Anne Priest and Celtic Autumn. So they're just going to kind of hang out in the Mocking Basket of Whips for a little while. I do plan on bringing them back into the rotation, but as for right now, and the way that January has went for me, I just don't seem to have as much stitching time as I was getting. All right, so my morning stitch has been Parson Brown by Notforgotten Farm. I started this one in December. I worked on it for like one morning, and then I ended up setting it aside and started working on Marion Minty. So when I finished it, then in the beginning of January, I picked up Parson Brown again, and I've been stitching on him in the mornings. In the mornings, I get about 40 minutes to half an hour. And so this is my progress. I'm almost done. I just have to finish this last box here and then just put in 1847. And then this one will be done. Originally, I had planned to finish this by putting it onto an old book, but I've decided to find a frame for it and frame it, and then I'll stick it right over here. I'm stitching this with all DMC on a piece of 36 count Summer Khaki. And I was supposed to stitch it 1/2, but I accidentally stitched it 2/2, and it wasn't till I got to the snowman that I realized my mistake. So I just decided to keep going. I wasn't going to rip it out or do any of that. And I originally wasn't sure how I felt about the snowman because I did change his colors a little bit. I wanted him to be kind of like a prim style Santa. So I did off-white. So the Santa is done with ecru, and then the outside of it's done with like a beigey color. And my plan is, once it's done, I am going to use the Primitive Gatherings antiquing spray, and I'm going to spray it all over to kind of grunge it up. So hopefully it'll look okay. So when I get that one done, my plan is to, it was just right here, my plan is to work on Country Rustic Primitives Addie Sutton Sampler, and here is a picture of it. The reason why I decided to work on this one is because in the entryway, when you first come in, there's this narrow wall that's between the front door and like a little divider that's there, a little wood, I don't know what that's called, it's like a little wood divider. And on the narrow wall, I have a primitive style candle that's set in a wood hanger. And the other day when I was looking at the wall, I thought, it'd be really nice to have a, sort of primitive cross stitch piece that fits right underneath it, just kind of to help all of that blend in with each other. And so that's what I'm planning on doing, because when it's done, it will fit in a 5x7 frame and it'll be perfect to hang right there. So I am going to do it on a piece of 32 count that I have in my stash. I haven't pulled it yet, and I will be doing it with DMC Threads. So hopefully next week I'll be able to get that started. My weekend whip has been Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow. I started this back in late summer 2017, and I worked on it I think I worked on it from September to October, and then I worked on it again in 2018 for a little while. So it's been sitting in my whip basket for 2 years, close to 2 years, and I decided that when I was done with, what did I just finish? Oh, Brian's stocking. I was going to have this as my weekend whip. And here is my progress. So I was able to work on the barn over the weekend. I got the roof kind of on. I still got to finish filling it in, and I got to finish filling in the barn. I think there's some crows to add. And then I got to carry down the box. And there's another hay, like a haystack on the other side of the pumpkins. And so once that's done, then this block will be finished. So I'm hoping that maybe I can be pretty close to finishing the second block on this before the weekend's over. I'm hoping. I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count Vintage Country Mocha with the DMC conversion. One thing I do know now is when I first started stitching this, I just stitched what the conversion was. But if I would have started it now, I would have changed out a whole bunch of colors. But it's fine. I'm gonna leave it. I don't want to go rip out anything that has already been stitched in, because each one of these blocks are like a mini Haid, and whatever's there is there. And I think it looks good. So I will be making some changes to some of the other blocks as I go along. But as far as the color scheme, I'm gonna keep it what the called for DMC is. So I love it. It's so much fun to work on, and I really can't wait to, to have it finished and to move on to the next one. I don't foresee it getting done this weekend. There's you know, I mean, you look at these blocks and you think, oh, that's not going to take very long. They're really not that big. But then when you start stitching them, they really are that big, and they do take a long time. When I originally started working back on this, my goal was to maybe try to finish one a month, but we're at the end of January. It's not going to happen. So, but I love it. I'm just enjoying it as I stitch. And of course, once my eyes got used to, they adjusted to stitching onto 40 count. I mean, the first evening I was working on it, I was struggling a little bit, but now that my eyes have adjusted, it's going a lot faster. The next one is my New Year, New Start, and that is Liberty's Welcome by Plum Street Sampler. I started this on January 1st, and I'm stitching this with my good friend Yvette. And Yvette is so sweet because she stitches a lot faster than I do, and instead of just like blowing through it and being done with it, she'll get a little ways ahead of me and then see where I'm at, and then she'll stop and she'll wait for me to catch up. Such a good friend. And here's my progress. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count Heritage by Picture This Plus with the DMC conversion. And in my last video, I mentioned that the thread that I can't remember what the DMC the number was that was called for the house, but whatever it is, it's in the star block, which is, you can't even see it. It's in this block right here, and you can't really see it. It's supposed to be faded. It's not supposed to be, you know, really clear. But I realized that was the house color, and I thought there was no way I'm going to be able to use that as the house color. All you would see is a dark roof and then nothing below it, and some windows. So I had said that I was going to, you know, have to change it out, and there was a couple of you guys who, you know, sent me some suggestions. It was suggested to me to use Weeks Dye Works White Lightning, and then DMC 648, I think is the one. And I went back and forth between the two of them because both of them they were like the perfect color that I was looking for. But I decided that since I'm stitching this in all DMC, that I would go with the DMC color 648. And so that's kind of a whitish gray, and I think it'll be perfect. So this is my progress so far. I absolutely adore the eagle. It is just so fantastic. I love this piece. So my plan is to, I will work on this Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, and then Monday, Tuesday of the following week. And on Wednesday of next week and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the following week, I will work on Olga stocking. And speaking of Olga stocking, here she is by Plum Street Sampler. So technically her name is Olga's Autumn Stocking, but whenever I try to say Olga's Autumn Stocking, I call it Olga's Autumn Tart. I don't know why, so that's why I just refer to it as Olga's Stocking. I started this with Yvette back on like September 28th. It was just supposed to be our Wednesday stitch, but because I'm stitching way slower, I decided to add some more days to Olga. So here is my progress so far. I'm stitching it on a piece of 36 count Vintage Pearled Barley with all of the called for threads. And I love it. So I have been working on the pumpkin that sits under Olga. That is quite the beast of a pumpkin. However, it's nothing on the pumpkin that sits directly underneath it. That one's gonna take a while. So this one I absolutely love. I'm gonna say gingham. It's a gingham pumpkin. I know that it's not, but to me that's what it seems like, and I love it. So I'm hoping that by the time I get done with the video that it will upload quickly. I'll be able to edit it, and then it'll process quickly so I can get it onto YouTube. And then that way I will have more time to work on Olga before she gets put away until next Wednesday. So it's coming along beautifully. And I did have quite a few people say that Olga has been on their list to stitch for quite a while, and that every time they go in and try to purchase it, it is out of stock. Yesterday I saw that 123 Stitch had it back in stock. And I don't know why I was looking at Olga. I think it's because Olga was put away and I was looking. I wanted to see, I just wanted to look at it. I wanted to see what the next pumpkin was. And I went on and I looked and I saw it was in stock, and I was able to see, you know, this massive pumpkin right there on the heel. Huge. It's going to take a while. But I love it. It's such a beautiful one, and it will be, if I can get it finished by March 31st, I will be a very happy camper indeed, because it will be done, and it will be done in plenty of time for autumn, and that's ultimately what I want to do, is to get it done so I can have it up this fall. And I had someone ask if I was planning on hanging it on the fireplace, and no, I don't have any sort of hooks on the fireplace to hang it, but I do have other places around, even in this room, where I could hang it when the time comes. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to have it finished and have it out. Here are the threads that I am using. Just a beautiful fall medley and some of my very favorite autumn colors. And I forgot to show the threads that I'm using on Liberty's Welcome. These are all of the DMC. And I love the ones that I've been struggling with are these two right here. These two match my linen. You know, it really matches it and blends it. When I put it with something, you know, where it's got something around it, it's fine. But just to have these two threads on the piece by itself, they just disappear. So I've just been using the B5200 in place of it. So I think that is all of the cross stitching that I have to show for this video. I do have some quilting that I want to talk about. So if you're not interested in seeing that, this is a great stopping off point, and I'll be back in 2 weeks. My plan going forward as far as my rotation is to continue working on Liberty's Welcome, Olga's Stocking, Autumn at Hawker & Hollow, my morning stitch, Parson Brown. I'm hoping to get that done early next week, and then to start the little primitive sampler. And I'm hoping the primitive sampler will go fast, or like quicker, because it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of stitching, and it'll be on 32 count, so it'll be a little bit easier. In the morning I try to pick stuff that's not, you know, that doesn't have any, you know, specialty stitches, or it's nothing that's really big. Like Parson Brown and is about the biggest that I want to have for a morning stitch, because basically that's just a great time to work on, you know, smalls for like the trench bowl, or to, you know, make little ornaments for the tree, or just little things. So hopefully I will have that one started, and you know, 2 weeks worth of good progress to show you in my next video. So guys, I am going to pause the video really quick. I'm going to get a drink of water, and I'm going to pull what I have been working on quilting wise over the last 2 weeks. All right, let's talk about quilts. So I had a lot of questions about the quilt that is hanging behind me. The name of it is Long Time Gone by Jan King. The other question that I got was, could a beginner do Long Time Gone? Probably not. You could do some of the blocks, but a lot of the blocks are a little bit more complicated. So I would say after you've maybe got a few quilts under your belt, you're, you know, comfortable with half square triangles, you know, paper piecing doesn't scare you, and just, it's a lot of little fiddly pieces. So I would say once you get a few quilts under your belt and you're a little bit more confident, then I would say go for it. Because I would think the quilt would be intermediate, and after doing that quilt, nothing scares me anymore. So it's a very intense quilt. We did it as was it a block of the week? It must have been a block of the week because it started the beginning of March and it ended right before August or the beginning of August or something like that. And some of the blocks, there are lots of little pieces. And you can easily, you know, just like in this block right here, I remember this block took me a couple of days to put together because I did it all scrappy, so it took me quite a bit longer for each block. But I remember that block taking me quite a while. I mean, some of them are very intense, so I would say after you get a few quilts under your belt, go for it. But it's a lot of fun. And I do someday plan on doing another one of hers. It's called Baker's Dozen, and I love it. It's a beautiful quilt. But you kind of have to psych yourself up for it because it's another intense quilt, but it's beautiful. I've seen it finished and it's gorgeous. So, but yeah, it's Long Time Gone by Jen Kingwell. So I think it was in my last video or the one before, I talked about a block of the month that I signed up for through the Fat Quarter Shop. And I think in my last video I said it was on its way, and it arrived. So this is the Forevermore quilt, and I'm doing it as a block of the month through the Fat Quarter Shop. I have got a lot of questions about where, because you guys were so many of you guys were interested in doing a block of the month. I have seen it in a lot of different places. It's no longer available, you know, like the Fat Quarter Shop. You have so long to sign up and then they close the spots, but it is available if you type in Forevermore block of the month. A list of the shops that are participating or offering it will pop up, and I was able to send several people in different directions for the block of the month, and they've signed up for it. But that did come, and I have the first 2 blocks cut out, but I have not sewn them together. I tried. I really did want to. I was going to work on it yesterday, and I was going to work on it the day before, and then yesterday, and I just never got the chance. So, like with the Temecula quilt album, I purchased a binder from Amazon. I think it was like, $3, and then I took all of the paperwork that came with it, and I stuck it in the page protectors. So that way I am able to flip to, the month, or if I need to refer back to the beginning where there are some instructions, it's really easy to do so. So for just a few dollars, you can stay very organized, which I knew if I didn't get some sort of an organizational system, I would lose papers and it would be a mess. So in my next video, I will have those blocks to show you. But I have been working on my Temecula quilt album, so I finished the second month's blocks, and I did, the same thing where all of the block information and everything is in here and page protectors. And it's been so handy because in this particular one, you do have to refer back, the first couple of pages have directions, and so you just have to refer back to those directions. But it had 4 blocks for the second month, and this was one of them. Very, very cute. And this one, which I love all of these fabrics together. So beautiful. Temecula always has beautiful fabrics. And the Schoolhouse, which this one you have to do, it's freezer paper, so you trace the template onto freezer paper, and then you use your iron and you just you fuse it, but it's not permanent. You just you fuse it to the to the fabric that you're going to cut from, and then you cut it out and then you sew it together. Well, dummy me, I treated it like if it was fusible applique, so I ended up having to do this one twice. And I was like, why isn't this turning out? What am I doing wrong? And then I realized what I was doing wrong. It's been a while since I've used freezer paper for templates. So you just have to, instead of fusing it to the back of the fabric like you would do for fusible applique, you put it to the front. It doesn't leave behind any goop or anything. I forgot. I don't know what, it's been a while. It's been a while. And then this was the fourth block. This one gave me a little bit of a headache. None of the pieces wanted to go together correctly, but I was finally able to get them to go together. So I have the second month finished, and my plan is this weekend, after I finish the Forevermore, I'm going to begin cutting out the third month, which is this is what the third month is. So not too bad. And my goal is I am going to try to get, instead of doing, you know, like month one and then waiting till the second month to do month two, I'm putting a week in between. So hopefully, my goal is to hopefully have the quilt completely assembled, because I do want to be able to hang it up here when it is finished late spring, I think. And if not, definitely August. And then I subscribe to Temecula Quilt Company's blog or newsletter, and I could have sworn that they had sent out this blog. They'd made a blog post or a newsletter, and I could have, they had talked about it, they called it Mini Mondays, and it was a like a sewing bee, and they were like, oh, are you guys interested in doing a sewing bee? And I could have sworn that it was a once a week block of, or a once a week block that you got. So every Monday you were supposed to get a block. That's what I could have swore I read. Like, I would have bet money on it that that's exactly what I had read. And I wasn't the only one, because I had a couple people who sent me a message because they thought that too, and they saw I was working on it, and they were like, I didn't see anything today. Have you seen anything? And I went back and I read the email again on the website, and it didn't say that it was a block of the week. It just said that in 48 weeks we would have a quilt to assemble. But I could have sworn. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And so I guess it's going to be a block of the month. So I decided to do it with Mustache. And the first clue was just to make 4 of these blocks. So I have all 4 of them made, and I'm just patiently waiting for when the next clue releases, which I'm assuming will be the middle of February. So maybe instead of it, so since there are 4 little blocks, maybe that's the way it'll be. Like each time they release a clue, it'll be 4 blocks. So it'll be interesting to see. So I started that because I think it would be a good way, I'm trying to make Civil War, like reproduction quilts, and so I'm trying to make them. I'm like obsessed with having them in my house now. And so it's just nice to know that there's another quilt that somewhere down the line it'll be done and I will have it to display around my home. So I did show in my last video that I was participating in the Best Friends Quilt Along that is being hosted by the Fat Quarter Shop and Lori Holt of Be in My Bonnet. And I think I definitely showed the first block, which were the log cabin. But I don't remember if in my last video the economy block was done. So if it's not, this is the economy block. All of the blocks are paper pieced. They do have a video I'm doing the 6-inch version, so if you go to the Fat Quarter Shop website and you look at the economy block, there is a video somewhere in the description area that shows you how to make the blocks. But I can't remember I don't think that I showed my economy blocks in my last video, but this is them. And so if I'm just repeating this, I'm sorry, because I cannot remember. So I'm doing mine scrappy from my scrap bin. You would think by now my scrap bin would be getting a little lighter. It's not. It has grown even more. I decided to leave the paper on the back because it just keeps it nice and, you know, flat, and I'll take it off after I've assembled the quilt. So you just had to make, I think, 8 of those. And then the next one that came out was the pineapple block. So it could be that I already have shown you the economy block, and if so, I'm sorry, I can't remember. So our next clue was to make 4 pineapple blocks. Again, it's paper pieced. And they're actually a little bit bigger than the ones that are in this quilt, right there. Those ones were a lot smaller. So these ones were nice because they were a little bit bigger. Again, I used all of scraps. And I honestly think pineapple blocks are my favorite. I just love how they turn out. You can do all sorts of color combinations, and I just love them. So then yesterday morning, the 4th clue came out, and it is courthouse steps. Is that what they're called? Yeah, courthouse steps. I always want to call them squares. They're steps. And I have to make 16 of these. So over the weekend, my plan is to cut the fabrics for those. And then next week, I think we get the directions to put it all together. And I think because I'm doing mine scrappy, I think the way that the quilt lays out, there's 4, like on the corners, there's fabric. And a lot of people, well, the people that are like running the Stitch Along with Lori Holt and Fat Quarter Shop, I've seen some of their pictures. You know, they show it laid out, and then I can see like the way it's going to lay out. And I think what I'm going to have to do is in those 4 corners, I'm going to have to do some math, and I might have to just cut out some squares and assemble them to make those corner blocks. I think that would look better than just having since I'm going scrappy, I think it would look better to have sort of scrappy squares in those 4 corners than just one fabric. So that's something that I need to decide if that's what I'm going to do. So that's my plan. So my plan is just to work on some block of the months because I'm obsessed. I love, that's fun. You know, you put a sampler together. I love samplers, are like my favorite. So my plan is to work on the Forevermore blocks. I think I have to do 4. And I have the first 2 cut out. And the directions are very precise. I mean, you really have to pay attention to the directions. I won't be using steam on the blocks because they have to finish at a specific size in order to fit within the borders. So pressure. But that is my plan is to. So these are the blocks that you have to make. So you make these 3 and then these 2 little ones. So my plan is to work on those this weekend. I have the first 2 all cut out and ready to be assembled. I just have to do it. So hopefully this weekend I will have those done. And I think that's it. I think that's all I have to show for this video. Now I get to wait for it to slowly upload so I can go in and edit it. If I have forgotten anything, I am really sorry. Freddy ate my questions. So if I didn't answer, because I tried to remember off the top of my head what had been asked of me, and I thought maybe throughout this video I would remember a few of them. So if I didn't answer your question, please leave it in the comments section down below, and I will write them out again. I'll write out the questions again, and I will put it in a safe spot so it doesn't fall off on the floor for Freddy to shred it. And I will answer it in my next video. I thank you guys so much for stopping by today. Thank you so much for supporting me here on YouTube. I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate you subscribing and liking the video. Thank you, thank you. And I'm really glad that you guys don't mind that I share my two loves with you every 2 weeks. I've been asked if I will ever split the quilting from the cross stitching, and I don't think so. I just don't think that I have enough progress quilting wise to do that, because there will be times where I don't have, you know, I didn't get time to work on anything, or you know, I'm cutting out a quilt and it's taking, you know, it took me a week. I did have a question about my Jane Austen quilt. So I was asked when I am going to start that. My plan is to start it after the Best Friend Stitch Along is done, or the Best Friend Quilt Along is done. So that's kind of taken up the spot that I would have used for my Jane Austen quilt. So that's my plans, is to, as soon as that's done, I'll start my Jane Austen quilt. So but I don't think that maybe I shouldn't say I don't think I'll ever split them apart, because I honestly don't know. As of right now, I don't have any plans to split the two videos apart and have quilting separate from cross stitching. So as of right now, you know, putting them both together, it just works better for me, because making these videos takes a whole entire day. I mean, it is almost 3:45, and I still have to wait for this video to upload before I can even go in and edit it or do any of the things. So it won't be till after dinner before I can go in and like fiddle with it and fix it, because there's a lot of parts where I need to cut. So anyway, so guys, thank you so much for stopping by today. I will be back in 2 weeks. If you want to see what I am up to in between videos, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, or on Facebook. I have a Facebook page and it is called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section down below, and I will do my best to remember to write them all down and put the page someplace safe so I can answer your question in my next video. All right, guys, I hope you have a great couple of weeks. Happy stitching, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.